cold, it's been raining, you want to get warmed up, have a coffee, but you forgot your Bic lighter. What are we gonna do? We're gonna take this bag right here and we're gonna get warm. So let's get to it. It's a balmy 37 degrees here in Ohio today. Took a hike down here by the scenic river. I happened to forget my Bic lighter. But I did, however, remember my bag. So we're gonna utilize this bag and what's inside of it to get fire and get warm. So as I mentioned, we're going to do a Bowdrill fire today. And this video is geared towards the beginner to introduce them to the Bowdrill friction fire. And the first thing we need to do is just go over the pieces and parts that it takes to create fire by. There's roughly 5 pieces to a Bowdrill kit. The first piece to my Bowdrill kit is going to be my leather leaf. This is to collect the ember that you will create out of the hearth board. Just a simple piece of leather and just shaped it into a leaf. Had a little fun with it. The second piece in my kit is the spindle. And you'll notice it looks a lot like a pencil. This is carved out of a piece of tulip poplar, because it's somewhat common here in the northern part of Ohio. The third piece to my Bowdrill kit is the hearth board. As you can see, I've used mine a few times already. Very successful. Once I have a successful piece, I want to keep it as part of my kit so I know that I have something that works. The fourth piece that goes along with it is the bearing block for the top. Usually a hardwood, oak, elm, maple, kind of whatever you have on hand. Mine is made to go in my kit. I've used a piece of maple, and I've also put a bearing. It's actually out of roller skate, and fit that in there. This is a very, very handy piece. Any old piece of hardwood will work, but this works much better. And last but not least, you have the bow. And here's my bow for today. It's one that usually stays with my kit, so I don't have to keep looking for one, mostly when I'm at home when I practice. The bow does not have to be curved. Straight works perfectly fine. And I'm using number 36 bank line for my bowstring. Works beautiful. The next items are something you want to have prepared ahead of time before you start spinning sticks together, or however it is that you're creating your friction fire. Be prepared, be ready. When you have that ember, you don't want to be out looking for tinder or fuel or anything like that. Have it at your disposal right there, so you're ready to go and you can utilize all the time that you have available to you with that ember that you've created. It's one thing that always stays in a bag, in my haversack or in my bag that I'm carrying to my campsite, or my hiking bag, whatever would be, is some tinder. And in this bag I have some tulip poplar bark and just a little bit thicker kind of bark. Anything dry that you can make light and fluffy, keep it dry. Dry is the key with friction fire. Dampness, moisture is your enemy. So keep it all dry so it lights the first time and with the greatest amount of ease as humanly possible. The other thing I brought along today is my Luxada camp stove, because it has been raining pretty much most of the morning, so the ground is damp. So I want to keep my fire dry, my tinder dry, my fuel dry. Everything that I can keep dry will work a lot easier for me. So brought the camp stove along today. The other thing I want to have ready is some smalls, something ready to go in there that will light really easily. And trying to find dry fuel after it's been raining is very, very tricky. But when you find it, keep it off the ground in any way you can. Keep it in your haversack. Just keep this dry so it lights very easily. So the first thing I want to do is make my spindle. So I've taken a piece of tulip poplar, and it's roughly the length of my pinky to my thumb. And I've created a point on one end, and it's somewhat rounded like an eraser on the back end. So as you can see, this one has been used. So I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to create a new surface. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to be using my PKS Kephart, my favorite knife of all time. Absolutely razor sharp, love this knife. So what I'm going to do here on the back is just shave all that off to create new friction surface. Okay, now it's all trimmed down, ready to go with new material. The next thing we get to do is set up our hearth board and get that ready to go. So as you can see, we've set the holes back to where the spindle gives us room to have a notch. I'm trying to see how I can get you the best view here. Okay, so I want to get a rough idea of where that's going to go, and I'm going to create a little divot to start the end of the spindle in it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of get an eyeball. That's what we do. We eyeball. So we're going to eyeball this up where I want it to go and then create my notch. So we're going to shoot for somewhere right about in there. So what we're going to do is take our knife, put about where we want the center at here, and just start creating a divot. And I found it easier to just rotate the board as I'm turning my knife to create this divot right here. Be careful, if you're like me, your knife is very, very sharp and it will cut yourself very, very, very easily. Okay, so as you can see, we have our notch in. We're pretty much ready to go with our hearth board. So we're moving on to the next step. If you don't have one already ready to go like this, you just want a piece of hardwood that you can put that divot in for the top of your spindle. Because I've created my own that stays in my kit. I've already got one ready to go. After that, you want to get your bow ready to go. If you don't have one already set up in your kit, you should at least have some sort of cordage with you. If not, you can utilize Mother Nature's cordage. In this case, as stated, we're going to use number 36 bank line, and I have my bow all set up ready to go. So it's just tied off at one end, and I've utilized a bit of a Y on the other end and tied that off. So what you would do is take your bow, and I'm right-handed, so my string is on my left. I'm going to stick the eraser up and turn it over the string and get that to twist around so that my spindle is on the outside of the string, is on the outside away from the bow. So once you have that set up ready to go, pretty much ready to create an ember. At this point, the first thing we get to do is what's called the burn-in. We're not looking to create an ember, we're looking to mate the two surfaces together. And it's best to start it back here where I can kind of hold on to it all with one hand. I don't know how well you can see that. So I can place it on my block. And I have my bearing block here. And we're going to put that right on top. Just like that. And that'll be where I can push down and create pressure. So once I've got a hold of it, I can let go of it with the other hand, and I'm strictly holding my bow. So I'm going to brace my hand against my leg like this with my bearing block on top, making sure my spindle is in my notch. And we're just going to spin this guy back and forth. It doesn't take a great amount of pressure here, but just steady pressure and a steady speed. It doesn't got to be fast. Just steady motions. So we're going to take our leather leaf and our hearth board, and we're going to try to save any of the material that we build up in the burn-in process. So it will create an opportunity for the ember to last longer in as much material as we can capture. All right, the next thing we get to do is create our notch right here in front of our hole. As you can see, I have a notch made right here, only going about yay far into our hole. So what we want to do is get our knife back out here, and we're going to create a notch here and here. So let's do that. Again, flip your board. Don't try to do anything dangerous towards your hands. With your really, really sharp knife, you're going to need your hands to create your ember. Okay, once you have your notch cut in here, what we want to do is take the bottom here, and we're just going to shave the edges just like that. So what this is doing is allowing air to get up underneath of your board and get to your material, so your ember has oxygen to burn. So it's just creating better airflow. I do mine on the top as well. May not be for everybody, but I believe it gives it less room to hang up the material coming off of your spindle or your board. I believe it gives it less room to hang up and not fall through the notch. So I'm removing some material just to make that easier to come out of my board. I think we're ready to go. Ready to give it the go. So let's do this and see what happens. Okay, so now we want to take our leather leaf and we're going to put it underneath of our board here so that our ember can come out onto our board, or off of our board onto our leather leaf. A piece of bark will also work. Anything that you can find dry, a stone, even as I have it right here at my disposal, and they're not exactly dry, but I have some shells. I could even break apart a piece of this shell and use it as an ember catch. But I have my leather leaf, so we're just going to use that. One more thing I would like to have ready is I've got a dry place to keep my tinder material. So we want to have this out and ready to go. Okay, so to do this, we're going to do the same process, except this time as we get closer to the ember, we're going to move the bow back and forth faster. We're going to create more downward pressure, and we're going to give it the old college try. Once you can see it smoking on its own, which I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up, that's definitely smoking all by itself. It's going to give it a little oxygen to breathe. We're going to give it a moment. There's definitely an ember in there. Let's see if I can get a better view. I can't see it on the camera that well, but I can definitely see the ember here. As you can see, our ember's burning through our material kind of quickly. So what we want to do is very carefully and very gently, we're going to take our ember and just kind of put that guy into our tinder bundle. Careful not to smother it. And we're gonna make fire. Here we go. I'm not blowing very hard, just hard enough. Fire. Go ahead and get that in our stove. Make sure it's on fire and you don't accidentally put it out. Just add your smalls. Start adding your fuel. So much warmer already. Okay, now that I have my fire established, I just want to go over a couple of things that I maybe have already said. But dry material is key. From your tinder to your fuel to your Bowdrill materials, dry is key. You may have to adjust some things on the fly. The tightness of your bowstring. You may have to shave the bottom of your spindle and kind of start over again with that. Key is don't get frustrated. Soft wood is key, but I have seen bow drills done with harder woods. It all matters in the decomposition stage of the wood. But if you can really get to it, cedars, tulip poplars, softer woods are the best. So nice. And this can be the difference between the end of your camping trip and a nice peaceful night out in the woods. So go grab yourself some materials, give it a try, and practice, practice, practice. Thanks for joining me today on the 419 Outdoors. I'm your host, Brian. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, give the video a like. I'll catch you all next time.